Hello, everybody. How are we doing? It's Eleanor Beaton here, and hopping on this morning to do a live, which is all about building teams. So, team building isn't something we perhaps talk about enough at Safi Media, but we know it's super important for our clients, for women entrepreneurs worldwide, to get the help that you need to make your vision real. So, we are doing some programming this week, some free programming, some entrepreneurship education and storytelling that's all about how women entrepreneurs just like you have built the teams that they needed to support them so that together they could bring their business vision and their business mission to fruition. And of course, that doesn't happen alone. That is always about a group of really talented and committed individuals working together as a team. So that's what we're talking about today on our live. So please go ahead if you're joining us here live and introduce yourself. Just let us know where you're tuning in from today, and let us know if you currently lead or manage a team yourself. I'd love to know that. So just go ahead and where you're from, and if you lead or manage a team yourself. So we're talking about the real reason entrepreneurs don't like managing their teams. Now, you may be one of the fantastic and rare entrepreneurs who actually does like managing your team. But the reality is that in the work that we do with women entrepreneurs and with women founders, we have found that sometimes there can be like a hesitation to build and lead and manage a team. And it may be that it's new, and so you're not accustomed to it. It could be that you are worried about cash flowing a team. It could be that you have worked with team members in the past and maybe didn't go so well, or maybe you were like, the problem is I just kept feeling like it would be so much faster if I did it. Like, these are all sort of classic motifs and recurring themes that anybody who works with founders has heard before. So the challenge, of course, is that in business, the team is the basic unit of production. That sounds like super utilitarian, but it's true. In business, the team is the basic unit of production. So teams are incredibly important in business because it is teams that make things happen. So, as a leader, especially if you have a vision for something that you want to accomplish in the world that exceeds your individual time, your individual personal resources, your individual personal skills, then you will need a team to help you do it. And in the coaching work that we do with women entrepreneurs, what we have found is sometimes there can be a hesitation to build a team. And one of the things that will come up, I shared some of the reasons that people might hold back from building a team. I don't know if I can cash flow it. I have had bad experiences in the past. I don't know. I don't have the skills or the tools to manage people. All of those things can come up. But underlying all of that is the sense of I'm not ready. I'm not ready to build a team. My business isn't ready to have a team, and I'm not ready to manage a team. So I wanted to dive into that a little bit today. And the reality is you are the only one who knows if you are ready to build a team or not. But I want to challenge that a little bit. And I actually feel this thought that I'm not ready to build, lead, or manage a team is actually one of the things that holds us back the most. And I would question whether that's always true. So the first point I want to make is that when it comes to building a team, just like when it comes to doing anything in business or in life, there is a difference between being ready and feeling ready. There is a difference between being ready and feeling ready. So I want to give you an example of this and tell you a story about this. when I was back in the day, when I was, at that time, I had a couple of sort of part-time contractors who would work on things part-time. They would come in and work for my company as needed when required. And that was great in the beginning. And it got me used to sort of delegating and all of that. But there comes a time where, in order to fulfill your vision, that vision requires somebody's full attention. Nothing less will do. I mean, their full attention during their working hours. And I was experiencing many of the things that many other founders face. Oh, like that's a big expense. Do I want to take that on? All of this. Where do I even begin finding the people? Am I ready? So I happened to be at this women's conference that was it was a women's talk. I think it was being put on by um women in business something. I don't even remember. We were at BMO in Toronto at there was a fireside chat being hosted in BMO and their sort of headquarters in this beautiful room. There were probably like 50 women entrepreneurs in the room. And there were a bunch of powerhouse women who had built multi-million dollar organizations. They had anywhere from 20 to, 80 employees. And I'm a former journalist, right? And so as a former journalist, you are naturally nosy. So I went up to each and every one of these women who were on the panel after they kind of spoke, and then the panel. And I went up to them and I asked them the same question. And I said this: when you think about yourself building your business, and every time, especially in the early days, every time you had to make a key hire, did you ever feel ready? And every single one of them said, no. No, I did not feel ready. I did not feel ready. And again, however, they were ready, and there's a difference, right? So I think being ready, when you are ready for something, the requirement is that, so of course there's some sort of baseline prep work probably, but that you are willing to face the fallout, good and bad, from your decision. And to me, that is a state of readiness. So for instance, let's say if I went back into myself back in the day in that situation where I was looking at starting to build a team and make my first full-time hire, was I willing to face the positive and negative fallout from my decision? And so I had to ask myself, am I willing and ready to do that? And so that would have meant I needed to have a certain amount of cash reserve in place to face the positive, they're fantastic and we're growing, or the negative, this is not going to work, I need to go and do another search, as an example, right? So are you willing to face the positive and negative fallout of your decision? And very often when people don't feel ready, what I have found is they haven't actually done the work of really asking what's at stake here, what are the things I might face, and am I willing to face those things, right? And so that's really key. So being ready happens when you are willing to face the fallout from making a clear decision, positive or negative fallout. And most decisions have a little bit of both, right? They have challenging things that happen and they have amazing things that happen because of that decision. Feeling ready is a little bit different. And I actually don't know what feeling ready is. And I think, for myself, I know that I am ready. I'm going to feel ready if I've made the commitment that I'm willing to face the consequences of my decisions, positive, of the fallout of my decisions, positive or negative. It doesn't mean like unicorns and rainbows. That's not what feeling ready feels like to me. So I just want to really kind of clarify and set up those two differentials. Because here's what I find happens. It's another sort of aspect of, of building teams, that when you don't build the team that you need, then your vision, the vision that you have for what you want to create, it really begins to stagnate and it actually starts to burn you out. Because generally what calls you to be an entrepreneur is that you have a vision that you want to create in the world that's bigger than you. And it actually requires that you become a leader who can pull people together to work together on that and everything that that means, So When it comes to, so just kind of wanted to share that, and we will be talking more about this. So, I think team building is so key. What I found is that so much of the sort of common wisdom about team building has been created inside corporate settings, which are very different from entrepreneurial settings. It's very different when you're using your money to build a team, right? It's very different when you are working in an entrepreneurial environment versus like a federal government environment or a nonprofit environment or a corporate environment. What leadership looks like, what's required, is quite different. And so I have always found that what has been most helpful to me is when I'm surrounded by other women entrepreneurs who have created and built teams, and that we have been able to share our lived experiences of what that has been like. Practical learnings, things that inspired us, big lessons, big mistakes, all of those things have been so helpful. And they can make the process of team building feel less alone. And the weird thing is that as a leader building a team, it is a fantastic opportunity to bring people together. There can totally be a fantastic sense of camaraderie. And the reality is that it can also feel a little lonely and isolating, because in order to do your job, you are both part of the team and also not part of the team, meaning that you will be the one who has to have tough conversations with people. You will be the one who will need to potentially create necessary endings. You will be the one who will sometimes be the person challenging the team to a next level of greatness. And anytime we step up into something that's next level, it's never comfortable. Humans by nature are not wired to do that. And so there's often this external stimulus. And as a leader, that will often be you. That's what makes it isolating, right? That's what makes it isolating. And so I think, being in a place where you can have conversations like that, where you can hear from other founders how they've dealt with it, the work that they have done, all of that has been so key for me. Really building a team has been incredibly humbling. It's been an honor. It's been incredibly humbling. I've had to reconcile the difference between, the leader that I believed I was and the leader that I actually was, and then how to continuously, like every single day, bridge that gap. You have to start distinguishing between and developing this ability to see who people believe they are and who they actually, and the skills that they actually have, and then bridging the gap. You have to be the person who can hold people accountable to results, as tough as that can be, and what does that mean? And how do you do it? We know what it looks like in traditional business models, which can be pretty harsh. How do you do it in a modern, nourishing type of business model that I know so many of you want to create? So when it comes to managing a team, I really think that there are 4 things that can present challenges for people. So there's lots of tools and very practical technical things. But when it comes to building and managing a team, there's a few things that are required. And as soon as you start building a team, you'll see this. The first is that it really requires that you're clear on your vision and mission. Everybody is obsessed with like having 12-month plans, but I actually think having a clear vision and mission is much more important. So it's like this directional place that people can look toward. So it's the first thing. And as you have multiple people working towards something, you will see if you're not clear on where you're going, now you have all this genius and creativity and brain power and hours and overhead working toward the wrong direction. That's the inherent tension, right? So you as a leader, in order to manage that, you must be able to create the space and the container to be very clear on your vision and mission. I think this is why coaching is so important for founders. It's not just about you, it's about the impact that your lack of clarity has on the lives of other people, right? So that's kind of key, being really clear about your vision and mission. The next part of it is to be clear on what success looks like. So vision and mission is kind of far away very often. And what happens is that that's going to be broken down into projects usually, and the ability to be really clear about what it looks like that when something is successful, that requires a level of detail orientation. That again, you might be a visionary who has very sort of ethereal vision and dreams for things, but you have to be able to translate that, at least at the level of a project, into something that's fairly concrete, that then somebody can say, okay, that gives people the structure to be like, okay, got it, let's work toward that. And that's how you start, I think, to build sort of a culture, one project at a time. It's not just what you talk about, it's like how you actually start to work together. So that's a second thing that's really key. And that can be very hard. And again, it's what can make teams and leading teams so challenging for entrepreneurs, is that you need, like, it can't just be in your head. You have to actually be explicit about what success looks like, especially, early on with your team. So clear on your vision and mission, clear on what success looks like. And then here's the really hard part. You have to be willing to take a stand for that. And the world doesn't always love women who take a stand for things. We're often called demanding and bossy, right? Not the same. And I've seen, again, like 100%, and have seen this from my women colleagues too, that very often when women take a stand for something we believe in, or the way what our vision is and how we believe something should be, sometimes we are treated differently than men may be if they say the same thing. Right. So I have experienced this. I know other women have experienced this. You may have experienced this, and you got to do it anyway. So willing to take a stand for your vision and mission, willing to take a stand for what success looks like, and then being willing to face the fallout from what's involved when you take a stand. Right? Because there will be. And I think all of these, like having sort of honest, experience-driven conversations about all of these things is so key to helping you find your own path through this. I don't know about you guys, but I find increasingly I grow a little weary of people telling me what to do. I know many of you feel this way, as though life experience and the dynamic nature of business can be boiled down into a couple of rules. I think the most important thing is when we as women come together, share our stories, not what you think it's going to be like, not what you read in a book, but what you have actually lived and experienced, and the wisdom that you've gained from that place. That's the kind of team building and leadership wisdom I'm really interested in. And I think that's what's most beneficial. I think when I think about the women entrepreneurs that I know, the women entrepreneurs that we serve in our programs, this is the type of thing that we want to provide and share. I think it's what's most useful. So that's why we're having a roundtable. So I thought to myself, I was like, who are women entrepreneurs who have done it, right? So they have built really successful teams themselves, where their butts are on the line, who also at the same time are able to not only be in the trenches doing it, but have enough separation, have enough experience to be able to look somewhat objectively at their experience and pull out the nuggets, right? So I pulled together some incredible women founders, and we're going to have a live conversation about this. It's a closed door conversation, so it's free, but you do need to register. So if you run a team, if you're thinking about building and running a team, come and be a part of this conversation. So you can ask questions anonymously. You can email them to us. You can type them into the chat. You can also ask to come out on camera and have a conversation with us. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll probably disagree about everything. And the reason that I brought a bunch of women together who we know are going to disagree on a lot of things is that you can see that there's no one way. The most important thing is really uncovering, who are you as a leader? What is your vision and mission? What does success look like for you? What are you willing to take a stand for? And can we support you in our collective experience to be strong enough to take a stand for something, to be willing, to experience the fallout, to be willing to be deeply humbled, right? Like, you show me a leader who's running a strong team, and I'm going to show you somebody who's humble. because you can't do it without humility. You don't have to be modest, but you do need to be humble. Otherwise, you can't really hear. And this is so huge, right? I always, people who are not humble have limited growth potential. Truly. But anyway, that's a whole other live, total other rant, total other live. So join us for that roundtable if that's you. So the women that I'm bringing together are Brandy Bernosky. So Brandy Bernosky has a company called Alchemy and Aim. This is a web development firm. She has a couple of different companies actually. And so her company is behind the websites for people like Brene Brown, Martha Beck, Byron Katie, Lovey Ajayi, Alex Carter, like incredible founder. And so she has built a really successful team. So she's going to be there. Tonya Thomas, who is in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. So her company is Team Delegate. She's basically a pioneer in the virtual assistant industry. She's been in business for 17 years. And she has built a powerhouse team of contractors, actually. And this is a team that serves, very high performing freelance consultants and executives. And so she's going to really talk about both her own experience building a team with consultants. And I know that's something that some of you guys want to be able to do. And also, what she has learned about high performing delegating CEOs. So that's going to be awesome. We have Mandy Gruwal, who is a multi-time, multi-X, 5X, I think it is. I can't remember the right number. Don't quote me on that. It's in the image somewhere on the, it's on the page. She is a founder, multi-time founder CEO, and has in the tech space, and has got some great experience building and scaling up teams fairly quickly with venture capital. So I think that's going to be a fantastic, she's just a very wise person, and I'm really looking forward to her perspective on this conversation. And then finally, Chris Plackey, who is, and what Chris, what she really does is she's worked with a lot of very, very successful coaches, people like Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School, helping them build out their teams. So I've really gone deep into my Rolodex, brought together a really thoughtful, intelligent, caring, experienced, wise group of women entrepreneurs who are not afraid to tell it like it is, who are willing to be honest, and vulnerable, who are willing to say, I did this really great. And you know what? I really sucked here. This was not a good experience. And I'm going to share it with you to help you feel less alone. Or, so you don't have to do that thing that I did. You can go and make another mistake, and then I can learn from what you did. So that's what the energy of this is all about. You must register. This is not open for everybody because of the type of thing we're talking about. So you do need to register for this. And it's happening on Thursday. All of the details are on the page. So I hope that's helpful to you. And again, it comes down to the fact that a team is the basic unit of production in business. Right? It all comes down to teams. And so everybody is sort of hunting for star performers. And I think, star performers can be great for sure. But I would say that even star performers are really nothing without being surrounded by a team. So what you're really looking for is to create teams of people who can work together to create genius in the world. And the concept of that and the execution of that are two very different things. And you will need to find your way to do that. I honestly don't think there's a Bible to do it, but the closest thing to the gospel is on that is hearing the lived experience and the stories of women entrepreneurs who are in the arena beside you. So come on over, listen to the roundtable. I really hope you enjoy it. It's our gift to women entrepreneurs, to really use our networks to make this kind of information freely available. So if you know of a woman entrepreneur who would benefit from this, please go ahead and register. And I'll be frank, this is open. So if you are a dude or a totally different gender, whatever you are welcome to take part. And what I've said sort of appeals to you, you are welcome to register, just to let you know that we are very welcoming to everybody. But we always speak mostly first and foremost to women entrepreneurs. Okay, my friends, have a beautiful day. I hope this was helpful to you, and hopefully we'll see you on the roundtable. Bye, everybody.